Hello, welcome to SureFire Live. I'm your host, Mark Stoner. Merry Christmas to everyone that has joined us and will be joining us. I want to talk about, the good and the bad of 2021. I want to hear, what you did. What were the wins? What were the losses of 2021 as we close out this year? To start the broadcast, I'm starting a new thing. I want to talk about the courses that we put on the platform every month. Once a month, we'll come to you and tell you what courses are going on the SureFire platform. And ideally, I'd like to have the instructors talk a little bit about their course. So right off the bat, I've got a comment. Chad Murray says, hi from Denver Airport, going home. Yeah, I think he's been on a little vacation. It looked like a fun vacation there, Chad. So glad you had a good time with that. So again, this is a two-way conversation. If you have comments or questions, I'm going to bring on Jim Brewer and Russ Dimmitt to talk about the courses this month. And if you guys have questions about them when they're talking about them, please let me know and I will ask those questions for you. So without further ado, let's bring on Jim and Russ. Hey guys, how are you doing tonight?
Hey Mark.
Hey, Mark. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining me. I know it's a busy time of year, so thank you for taking time to tell everybody about what we're doing. And so we've got two courses this month we're releasing. One of them was already released for the December course, but we didn't really talk about it. And then Jim, you're releasing another course in January. So let's just start with the December course, the masonry course, Russ, that CSI is putting out. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's a course we put out, and it's just recently been done. Masonry's been around for thousands of years. We updated here just came out in last month. It's called Chimney Maintenance, Masonry Chimney Maintenance and Repair. And what we did is it's not a beginner's course, but it's a great introduction. It would be something that a new employee should watch. We don't go because any one of these topics you could actually spend 2-3 hours on. But what we do is introduce a lot of the types of repairs and things the guy might find in the field. We talk about general masonry characteristics, what masonry is, how it's put together, things like that. We have a general discussion of inspections. Obviously, chimney inspections is a very deep topic. I think our CSI class is almost 2 full days on just inspections. But we talk about that, why you need to do that. We start off with washes and crowns. What kind of problems you run into there, what causes those problems. And then we do a quick coverage of how do you fix those? What are some of the options? Again, could be a lengthy class, but what we want to do is introduce to the folks, hey, here are your options. Now we talk about moisture issues. Now those moisture issues might be both external, coming from outside, or internal from a condensation issue. So we cover those. We talk about some of the general fixes for those moisture issues. How do you address those moisture issues? What's causing them? How do you address them? Chimney caps. We all love chimney caps. There's a lot of different options out there. I know chimney caps are near and dear to your heart, Mark.
They are.
The outside mount ones, and where I come from, chimney caps are near and dear to my heart. We talk about the different types of chimney caps and what you can do there.
Yeah.
As far as masonry, we talk about repair techniques, things like tuck pointing. When you got to put a few bricks back in, my kind of minor type repairs, and the proper materials to do that with. Masonry chimneys will last a long time if they're properly taken care of and are built of the proper materials. Unfortunately, we don't always find situations like that. We talk about chimney crickets, flashing, things like that. We go over a little bit of video inspection systems. When you're doing these inspections, what kind of video inspection systems are out there? Hit on appliance connection to chimneys, some firebox repairs and smoke chamber repairs. So it's just a good general overview. And we got a pleasant voice on us, not one of us old guys talking. So our director of public relations at CSI did that for us. And I told her it's not going to be the only time we're going to use it. I can write the script, and she sounds a lot better than I do.
It's very well produced, and she sounds good. And I think you're right about having her voice on that. But what a great topic, Russ. There's a lot of things to unpack on that. With one, I mean, it's a great moneymaker for chimney professionals, and two, those are the things that we find repaired wrong all the time, and sometimes it's by other chimney companies. We fix a lot of work that was done by other chimney companies, roofing companies, handymen, and it's probably, or even the homeowner, maybe half of the repairs we make were fixing somebody else's problem. So I love the idea of this class. Is this a class you taught, or who taught that?
It's been around a long time. I redid it, and then I actually brought somebody in. Some of you know Karen Stickles, who I used to work with. Karen assisted me in putting this together and kind of updating it. So it's kind of a team effort, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out.
Great. If you guys have any questions, I'm going to go to Jim, and then after Jim talks, if there's no question, I'll let both these guys get back to their evening. So, Jim, tell us about your class that's going to be released in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Hey, good evening, everybody. In January, we'll be releasing a course I just finished up called Electrical Safety Training. And it's all about how to stay safe around electricity. And, that's very important, when we're working with scaffolding or ladders, anywhere in the vicinity of power lines, we have to be extremely careful. Working with power tools outdoors, maybe it's raining, safe use of extension cords. We discussed GFIs heavily and really encourage the use of those. So it's just, it's a great course that you can use for, new technician safety training. You might put it, in your new tech training for your employees. Right. So that you're fulfilling your safety requirements there. It's actually a class that I've taught a couple of times in the OSHA 10 classes that I do. So it's just a module out of there focusing on electrical safety and just trying to keep guys out of trouble.
Great. Jim, you're looking like you got a tan. What have you been doing? Have you been out on that sailboat?
I've been trying to sail. We have gotten a little bit done. But, hey, as you know, we went to Belize too. So that was good. And we'll be sailing in St. Thomas next month. Looking forward to that. So I just want to say, hey, Merry Christmas to everybody. And I got to go watch my Redskins play. I don't care what anybody wants to call them. They're still my Redskins.
They're the football team.
They're the Redskins.
Well, guys, I don't see any questions popping up. Hello, JJ. I see he's on here. He's a new guy in the business. He wants to sail to Croatia, is what he says.
Sure.
That'd be a heck of a sail. Okay. Let's see. Oh, well, Cody Whitwood says, and I don't know why they're not showing up on my main feed. He said, we need a course about lifting and bending. We spend so much time kneeling down to getting fireboxes, raising caps over our heads. A little Love Your Spine class would be great for the younger crowd that hasn't learned the lessons the hard way.
Hey, that's a great idea, but we already have a basic class on that. I am pretty sure.
I'm working on an updated one on that very topic. So we've got that in the works right now.
Jim
And I can
actually.
relate to that old, young guy thing. I remember back in the day, right out of high school, I was working at a feed store, and an old guy came in to pick up some hog feed. And when I say old guy, he was probably younger than I am now.
Right.
And so I'm loading his pickup, and I'm carrying 250-pound bags of feed at a time. He's sitting on the tailgate, and he looks at me and says, "You'll quit that bleep when you get older." I had no idea what he was talking about. Now I understand very well what he's talking about.
Yeah, yeah, it catches you. But it's a good idea. Somehow we lost Jim. His feed went off. So if he gets back on here, but we're about finished. But thank you for the idea, Cody. I'll tell you, both Russ and Jim are heavy course creators, and so they're the right guys to talk to. Here comes Jim.
Yep.
Hey, lost you for a second.
Yeah, I tried to go over in SureFire and look. I guess I clicked out of here. But we definitely have something on there about back safety for Cody. I'll find out what it is and yeah, I'll let you know.
Cody also said, Jim, could you do a class on ascender and descender operation? A reference video would be very helpful.
I can do that, and I actually have that as well. And I believe that's up there, but it's rather old and it needs to be updated. But there is already something on there.
Great.
I will find out what that is.
Yeah, if anybody's interested in any particular topic, be sure and let me know, because we can work on the CSI side too. We've expanded our bandwidth there in the last few months, so
yeah,
we can be much more responsive than we were before.
So I don't know if this is too early to say, and you can say, no, it's not ready for prime time. Something we just talked about on that meeting, something that you're working on to expand the audience. Can you talk about that at all? Or is that still too early to talk about?
That's a tough question, Mark, but I'll just put a little tickler out there that very soon that we will be expanding our reach as far as folks who may not have English as their first language.
Right.
We're working on that. It's coming along nicely, and I would anticipate, and I hate to put a date on it because stuff sometimes happens beyond your control, but I would think by the end of the first quarter, shortly after, that should be ready.
Nice. And is that going to be the manual? Is that what you're working on, the manual or just courses?
The manual and the exam are both going to be in a different language.
Great. I know we get asked that from time to time, and hopefully with more people knowing the answer will be yes, or we're working on it, we'll bring in a whole nother group of people for education. So.
Yep. And, then we'll have to work on the reviews in a different language and stuff, which I'm thinking about.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the reviews and whether, they'll probably initially be the manual and the exam, but I would anticipate, I don't have a timeline on that yet, but also doing live reviews in that language and also an online review.
For sure.
Yeah.
Got another question from Cody to Russ. Russ, how in depth does a masonry class get? Do you talk about water damage, identifying damage to, to the various or vitreous layer?
We do hit on that, but it's not in great detail. The course is designed as an introduction, with a little bit of detail, but we don't go into specifics because any one of those topics I talked about could easily go on for a couple hours.
Right.
So that's one of the things that I've got on my plate, and the folks on my plate there I work with there at CSI is take each of those topics now and expand onto them into more detail.
Yeah. Great. I don't think I have more questions. Anything you guys want to add before I let you get to football night?
Happy holidays, everyone. And I will follow up on those courses and let you know what's out there. Maybe I'll be back in just a couple minutes with that.
Okay. I'll watch for you.
Well, okay. Merry Christmas, everybody.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Two of the best guys in the business working hard to try to come up with relevant classes and deliver a product that you guys can relate to. Hey, Jim, when you're ready to come back on, just shoot me a message and I'll bring you on. So the Cody Whitwood said, "Merry Christmas, guys." So, guys, I wanted to come up. I had a topic of, what was 2021 like for you guys? And we're getting ready to go into basically, the new year, and a lot of people have new plans. And for us as a company, what we do is I don't try to do a lot of changes this, fourth quarter. This is last minute of the Super Bowl. I'm not making big changes, but as soon as January 1 happens, we go into a lot of planning mode, And so that's when we work to fix our problems in the new year. So Kyle German says massive growth. Cody Whitwood says it was rough. So, hey, J.R. White, good evening to you too, sir. For some reason, I've got people showing up on my phone that aren't showing up on the feed, so I'm just going to have to talk through it. So massive growth, that's a great one. So I think a lot of chimney companies went through massive growth if they wanted to. Massive growth to me is two things. One, it's exciting, but it runs into chaos. Every small crack you had in your business got bigger. Like if you have some policy problem, or you have some leadership problem, or you don't know your numbers, or you don't know something, that crack got so much bigger that it has to be addressed, or it has people falling into it. Jasper Drangler says, I just missed the goal of doubling 2020's revenue. That's amazing. So with that growth, the other thing that happens a lot, and I'm not saying with everybody, but it did for me, is when I was growing a lot, I wasn't necessarily that profitable. We made a lot of money, and then we spent a lot of money buying trucks and training and people and advertising and just equipping. A lot of times when a company tells me they grew a lot, Jasper's been around for a long time, and so that might be different for him. And we grew 40%. But young companies, when they're growing a lot, if they're not financing the growth, they are, cash flowing the growth. And so sometimes that growth is fast, but it doesn't necessarily leave a lot left over. So that's a tough line to watch. And I always just poured it back into the business every year. I poured it in. And that was never a problem because I had so many sales coming in. The only time it became a problem was when the economy slowed drastically and I had put all my money out into growth. And so I just, I love seeing all the growth. So when we talked about biggest wins, we got massive growth. And then Cody says it was rough. So I'll tell you, overall, the pandemic still dominated our lives in so many ways. It dominated your business in so many ways, how you did business, how you didn't do business, how, customers were. It was, to me, that's still the hardest thing because you can walk into one house and they don't care about COVID. They're not worried about it. And another person thinks that you're about to kill them. And they treat you very, very differently in a home. And, I was speaking with one of my guys. Hey, Jim, I got your message. I'll bring you on in just a second. A friend of mine, texted me, and now he's in a very different, very blue state. I'm in a red state. In Nashville, Tennessee, we don't care nearly as much about masks or any of that as they do, say, in the Northeast. And, he had an employee that did not want to get tested. Now, to me, that's very different. If I'm the employer and I say, hey, you need to get tested, you're going to get tested. And I'll pay for the test and I'll pay for your time to get tested even. But, this guy did not want to get tested and he did not, he wasn't, I don't think there was a pay situation, but, then we all are looking at this, other vaccine mandates and all these things that may be coming our way. And so that's going to very much dominate and possibly change our roles as business owners that I'm not looking forward to. So let me bring on Jim before we keep going and let him give us an update. Hey, buddy.
Hey, so I looked up a couple of those courses, and regarding the back safety and lifting, There's two courses on there. One of them is called CSIA Back Safety, and the other one is called Safe Lifting and Body Mechanics. It's been a little while since I've watched either of those, so I don't remember all the details, but those are already there. And then regarding the ascenders and descenders, Cody asked about, there's a class on there called Rope Access Ground School that has modules on that. So if anybody watches them and thinks they don't fill the bill or need some additional work, let me know. We're always happy to try and cater content for the audience. If it's a good idea, it may not happen immediately, but it'll sure get put on the list, and it'll happen sooner or later.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it, and thanks for the update. And Cody said thank you, Jim, as well.
Cool. Merry Christmas, folks.
All right, buddy. Thanks. Oh, he's so good. So Chad Murray says, Master Services 2021. The bad was started out in 2020, COVID hangover for us. Lost more money than ever. Then Cody and I developed a hiring and training program, hired, and then we train. Since August, we grew and have just printed money and more than ever projected. That's awesome, dude. I think Chad brings up a very interesting point that a lot of us know is that, investing in your people, investing in the hiring process, truly investing in it, not just throwing out ads, but like literally becoming invested, hearts and minds, systems, part of your budget. And then also training your people can pay off in huge dividends. And Masters is clearly that's happening for David Hanna. Hey, welcome, David. David said 2021 had a 50% increase in the Blue Collar magazine. We went from 4 issues per year to 6. Hey, man, that's a tough business. Congratulations, David. That is, and David is out there, man. He's out there making it happen all the time. And I noticed that magazine getting thicker and more relevant, and not more relevant, more participation, I should say, because he's trying to make it happen all the time. Cody says you have to feed the beast to keep it happy. The more you make, the more help you need, the more you can close on, the more you make. Growth is a double-edged sword without planning, action, and follow-up. I think we missed part of it. Anthony Valerio said we hit 300 to 400% growth every quarter, and our net went from 25% up to 34 to 36. We put in a lot of our systems before we added, had a clear plan, plus made a 6-month safety net. We also changed to the bucket system after the business symposium, built an in-house training center as well. So, dude, that's awesome. And I've noticed a lot of your posts and you're really growing. You got a really good culture that you're building there. What Anthony was talking about on the bucket system was, we've talked about it before with Taylor Hill, did a course on Profit First, the book called Profit First. And he talks about, moving your money into actually separate bank accounts, which is one is an operating fund. Another is your profit. That's why it's called Profit First. You put your profit away first, then your operating account, and then your savings, your taxes, and your different buckets where you put money in and you can't easily just move them. And it helps you to manage the money. A lot of people want to be profitable at the end. Standard accounting principles mean you go through your year, and if you budget right, you get money at the end. And in this book that Anthony is referencing, it is you put your profit away first, and then you make do on the rest, which we're all pretty good at making do. And so that's what he's referencing to. And man, congratulations on that kind of growth. That's amazing. And it sounds like, for me, Anthony has been to a lot of the classes. I've seen him at several of our business, classes and symposiums, and he's all into education, and then clearly he's into implementation. So he went back from these classes and implemented a lot of stuff. And then when you build that foundation so much better, you can grow on top of it easy. The fact is, the more systems you get put in place, the faster you will grow. So the better you are at making systems and implementing them and holding people to it, the faster you will grow. It's just how it is. Man, my phone is blowing up tonight. I got texts coming in and I got chats coming up from the bottom. Hopefully I can keep up with it. Let me see. I lost some of my texts. Hold on. Where's my live chat? Here we go. Okay. Then Mike Fazy says, I have to pull my phone back. Revenue is vanity. Profit is sanity. Taking my foot off the gas and focusing on systems and efficiency for 2022. I'm getting the troops ready and filling the war chest for the future. Mike, I'm in the same boat. Although I've made a big play to buy a bigger business and we're going to build a building, I am going to strengthen up a lot of our systems and we're going to grow some, but probably not as much as we did this year. Exactly what you said, kind of making sure the war chest is full. For us, we had a lot of profit, so I put that into a big kind of down payment on a building and or a new business, I should say, and we're going to build a building after that. So, man, I love hearing these stories. So, my gosh, I don't know that I've ever heard this from our industry like this, and maybe it's just we're communicating more. But I mean, Jasper doubled 2020. David went 50% increase in a hard business, which is, a magazine business. Masters, more than ever. Let's see, what was his thing? He had a number that he gave me. I'm not seeing it. And then, Anthony, 300 to 400%. So I love that. I think a lot of the things that we're doing as an industry are working. A lot of the education that we're putting out there, a lot of the communication, and more than anything, to me, it's vision. I think our industry is finally starting to have a vision that is making these things happen. These new operators and new technicians and new business owners have a totally different vision of what a chimney business can be, and they're excited about it, and they're making it happen. They're very growth oriented. Holy cow. So here's, where did it go? Kyle German says, Alpine grew 600% in 1 year with all classes in education. My goodness. 600%. Now, so there's a conservative part of me that worries, but I don't know to worry. I'm not your dad. So, but that's amazing, Kyle. That's amazing. But you're also one of those guys that's fully in. You're participating all the time. You're trying to get as much education. You're reading books. You're listening to podcasts. You're following, mentors and people that are in front of you, so that you don't have to make all those mistakes. Or when you do, you make them. You guys are making mistakes and making plays faster than ever, right? And that's why, you guys. It's not like any one of you will say, "Oh, it was a perfect ride," but you guys are making. You're making mistakes faster and moving right through it to the next thing. And man, this is some amazing stuff. So Kyle says, I worry too. Anthony says, it seems like more and more companies are making training and education important. That's twofold too. You're right, because people are seeing if I don't invest in my people, they'll leave. If I don't invest in my people, they make giant mistakes. If I don't invest in safety and that kind of training, we get hurt more often. So, with this, they are investing in that. And then they're also seeing when they invest in all that, the other side of it is, hey, I can make more money. Hey, I can sleep better at night. Hey, I'm not so worried about, my people in people's houses. I've given them the best training I can give them. I've invested in them. And ideally, if we're building a really good culture and we're paying our people well, you're not just investing in people that are going to leave you and start their own business. Now, clearly that happens to everybody. Just get on the train. It happens. But we understand that if we make a better business for people, they're less likely to leave us. And that's what I've seen in my own business. We have a really good retention rate, and they really aren't trying to leave somewhere. They just want to make sure they have a good opportunity where they are, and they'll stay. When me and Jim talk about it quite a bit, where people are having a hard time hiring people and keeping them, and the question is, do you have a good place for them to stay and work? A lot of these guys, clearly Anthony, John Caesar, Chad, Kyle, they're figuring out how to make their businesses stickier and make people want to stay there. Let's see. Cody says Chad held max weekly sales title until last. Oh, Chad held the max weekly sales title until last year. I went above him by 20%. This year we have new systems, a new educator. New educator added 50% over my sales record using the new systems and training. That's amazing. Tom Wright says he's had amazing growth the last 3 years. 2021 by far the best. The unique driver for us is our metal fabrication. Way up over retail and service. Is fabrication driving anybody else? I know there's several of us that are in fabrication that it is a big driver. I wouldn't say it drives my business as much as it supports it a lot. It's very supportive of my whole business. Let me check here. I got another chat coming in. So Jim says this industry has grown and matured more in the last few years than any time in the past. And Jim would know. Jim was, I say this a million times. I'm going to say it again. Jim was one of the first guys to really get the growth idea of running it as a true business. He was one of the first people I knew. And there may have been a few people before him, but he was definitely one of the pioneers in this. And to me, he led a lot of this idea of growing a multi-truck operation thing. And so I'll always be in his debt for that. Kyle says, hello. Oh, hello, Mike Dean, my cousin. Kyle says, Ed, that's what I learned from all you guys. I give my guys the best. Oh, education is what he said. Education. That's what I learned from all you guys. I give my guys the best opportunity to succeed. That's what he learned from the podcast, the training. So clearly, it's amazing. I want to always remember 2021 for the good things. I mean, yes, there was a lot of bad things, and I got a list of some bad things, but I love that everybody is really jumping out with the positives. I got another comment here. Let's see here. Chad says, I want my guys crushing my numbers. I had caveman-like systems. Well, you know what's funny for me? I've got to go in and fix a lot of my systems too. They got us to where we are. They might not get us where we want to go. I've got an IT company coming in at the beginning of the year. I'm going to look at all my phone systems again, the whole way we do all that, our scripting systems. I'm going to go back in and look at everything that we do and work on making it better, because clearly we all see that, working on these things, we all have a different outcome. We can provide better income for our guys. We've got guys making unbelievable amounts of money, and they should. I did a podcast this week, and I played a clip from Jordan Peterson, who was talking about how, blue collar work and blue collar, recognition is sorely lacking by a lot of the elites and the protected classes, and they don't realize the guys building the bridges and working in the streets and working in the, the plumbing and the electrical and the masonry and all the things that built this structure to hold up everything. The guys are very much not appreciated, and I really liked listening to him. He was emotional about it. If you listen to my podcast, Jordan Peterson is visibly shaking because he was so upset with the way the upper class are demanding all these things. They're the most protected people ever. So let's see. I got a couple more. So Kyle, thank you, sir. He says the bad thing I've seen this the bad thing is I've seen this growth in 2007, 2008, and many companies folded. That was what really worries me, trying to prepare for that possibility and put a safety net in place. You know, I sometimes caution looking at the past uh, to make too many decisions for the future. But the one thing that you just said, Kyle, to me rings to me as just having a safety net, not necessarily being too safe or being scared, but as Mike Fazy says, I'm going to build up the bank account. I'm going to build up the treasure. And to me, to a point, right? You don't want to just keep stockpiling money if you're in growth mode. Now, if you're about to be done, of course you want to do that. But for me, I'm still very much in growth mode, and I think everybody pretty much on this listening is in growth mode in some way. So have that nest egg, always have that, and then grow from that. Now, I think Kyle, you put something out the other day about I think it was Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. It was about the borrowing money versus saving money. And Robert Kiyosaki is kind of, he's like the opposite of Dave Ramsey, and in some ways. And I think you can use both of those guys in different ways. I think Dave Ramsey can help you manage your spending and your bad habits in order to get wealthy, get your credit fixed, get yourself on the right path. But I don't think he makes you more rich by his methods. I think he gets you into good habits. Once you get into the good habits and you have some money and you have your bills paid down and you're acquiring money, then use Robert Kiyosaki's methods of borrowing money to buy assets, not liabilities, and to grow it in that way. So at least that's how I use both of those guys. I was a cash guy for a very long time, and I still am on my vehicles and a lot of that. But I'm also going to use leverage money and cheap money to grow the business to to another level when you're buying assets with ideally less expensive borrowed money. Got another thing. Let's see. Anthony says half of our safety net sits in a low risk money market account. That was a suggestion we got. That's exactly what we do too. In that bucket mentality, we take a percentage, and my CFO just says, "Hey, I need you to transfer X amount of money," or he writes a check, and we put it in a different bank account, and it sits there. And to Anthony's point, you don't want it sitting just in a checking account, not getting any interest. It's not very good in there. But even a money market system will at least keep up with inflation or get close to keeping up. At least you're not losing as much as you are just cash. Like keeping cash at your house and keeping cash in the bank, without doing anything with it, is just you're losing money every month, believe it or not. Kyle says he uses the bucket method too. Yeah. And again, if that's a great book, everybody should read Profit First. Michael Michalowicz, or I can't think of his last name, but he wrote Toilet Paper Entrepreneur too, or something like that. He's really a cool guy. All right, so we got some great wins. Gosh, I love hearing that, and thank you guys for participating so much. Tell me about some losses. For me personally, oh, hold on. Michael Fazy said, I've never read anything more true than Jordan Peterson books. I'm glad you're giving him a shout out, Mark. Yeah, from Michael Fazy. He's so brilliant, and he just sees things. He's so smart, and the way he argues points, I really don't think you can argue against him. He's just he's so thoughtful. And if you're not following Jordan Peterson, I highly recommend you watch him. So for me, on biggest losses, I think on my podcast I talked about we lost one of our team members this last week to COVID. He was an older gentleman. He was a driver for us. He drove. We sell caps, and we transport chimney caps to different markets and different chimney companies and my own companies. And he was my metal fabrication manager's father. And he reminded me of my own father, and we lost him last week. he was already kind of compromised health wise, and he got COVID, and then we think he got a blood clot, and he died from it. And it was just a rough thing for our whole company to go through that and see that. And but that was probably one of my rougher things this year, besides having COVID, and I still can't smell and taste. But tell me what you guys ran into. So Kyle says, my CFO does. I don't. He says, I think he said, I don't know what my CFO does. I don't really touch the money anymore. So there's two sides of that. I remember watching an interview with Oprah Winfrey. Even though she was a billionaire, she still signed every check. She says, I still want to know where my money goes to. And so I agree with you, Kyle. I let my chief financial officer handle a lot of the decisions. And so, but you always need to keep your thumb on it. You always need to have know where it's all going, because unfortunately that's how embezzlement happens. That's how people take advantage of you being nice, or they just think they have an excuse why they. And almost everybody out there has a situation where somebody stole money from them. So just keep an eye on it. Let's see. Cody says, I love how he says closing the sale is just transferring confidence. I don't know who said that, Cody. Is that Jordan? Let's see. Oh, I see. Kyle says I do the bucket accounting. He does all that. Got it. Anthony says our biggest hit was COVID in November. 90% of the company came down with it. Man, my biggest was Chad. When Chad got sick, my guys got sick. And here's his point. He said losses were his hardest point in 2021. Lost $200,000, and I sat in the hospital for 3 weeks. So, man, Chad, and we're glad you're with us and glad you came through it. And that was an ass kicker. But just look at what you just said. You said I lost $200,000, but earlier had the biggest year ever. I think that goes to say that, a lot of it is in our faith of what we can do, our belief that we can come back from it. And Chad didn't lose faith. I mean, it was scary. It was a scary moment, but he had no doubt that if he got out of this thing, he was going to jump back in and kick ass. And clearly he did. And for me, COVID was rough. After that event, it was actually a CSI homecoming that a lot of people got COVID. And I had 20 people have it. And so that was, we had to almost shut down for a while, and we still had a record year like you guys did. So so Kyle says you never lose, you just learn as long as you don't quit. Yeah, that's so true. Let me just look. So one other weird thing. Oh yeah, here he is. Let me just let Chad in here. He said, yeah, we came back huge, and he did. Yeah. So Chad called it the CSI COVID mixer. Man, it was rough. I think it was right when Delta was coming out. And I think at the time, Delta was 40 times more transmissible than the original strain. And now Omicron is coming out, and it's 70 times more transmissible than Delta, but less, a lot less on the death and all, and how serious it is, which is a good sign. Nicholas Guy says, I had to replace my install crew leader 3 times this year. We also had a large distributor mess up custom caps and was extremely late on so many that we had to switch providers. I'm still waiting on a cap order from October. Both situations caused large losses and return trips. So, so that's tough. Before we made our own caps, we had a lot of those kind of things too. And I'm not saying everybody should make their own caps, but having a metal fabrication division does help a lot of our business, just with simple stuff like a surround being off, or something needs to be welded up or fixed or adjusted. It is pretty handy to have some type of metal fab. But so replacing an install crew leader 3 times this year, so that that should be a real heads up of why did that happen? Is that a hiring issue? Did you have systems that were bad? Could you do exit interviews with those leaders that you lost? Sometimes there's no need to. They're clearly wrong or something's bad and you got to let them go. But what is the reason for losing so many people? I can tell you this: almost none of my people that are with me now, and I've got 10 people that have been with me over 10 years. None of them were with me before 2006, and I was in business since 1985. Like all the people that came through those systems with me, a lot of them, till I smoothed it out, are not with me anymore because I was probably not that. I wasn't that great of a place to work, and I wasn't that great of a leader. So I'm not saying this has anything to do with you, Nick, but what looking back, was what are the reasons that you lost so many crew leaders? I'm not asking you to tell me. I'm just saying that's what I tell myself. Is there any truth in this? Why do we lose them? And what do we need to do about it? What do I need to learn as a leader or as a business to make sure I hire the right guy? And then I get, if we got to get rid of them, we got to get rid of them. But if not, how do we get them to stay with us? Let's see. Thank you for all these comments. Kyle, Cody says, we learned how to keep the next $200,000. Yeah, I bet you did. Kyle says that's our 2-year goal for Alpine is to have a metal shop in-house, right? Dave Hanna says, in 2020, Blue Collar Magazine had built our distribution to just under 7,000 service companies. During 2021, hold on, it jumped a bunch. Wow, he wrote along. Okay, during 2021, due to retirements and business closing due to severe increased costs and business supply issues, we lost nearly 1,000 companies from our mailing list. However, because of the vendors of our industry who had to endure price increases and supply chain challenges, they never wavered in support of our publication. By December 2021, our mailing list grew back nearly by 800 stronger companies going into 2022. That vendor support for our industry has contributed to the success of many in our industry. Good stuff, Dave. Thank you and you're right. We do have a good industry. We really try to support each other. We really try to help each other. I recently spoke with the new sales manager for Olympia Copperfield, and he came from a whole different industry, and he was just very surprised at how much we try to help each other and how open we are to supporting each other. He said, I've never seen anything like it, and I've only been in this business for a few weeks at this point, I think maybe 6 weeks. He said, you guys are very different, and I like that. I think we need to stay different. We need to be a very different industry, and we all want to see each other succeed. I don't see people out there trying to hold people down. Now, sometimes I'll jump out on social media and I see a little bit of a beat down of somebody that maybe, trying to skip some steps or something. But I think us helping each other and, the culture of honor that we have is making all this happen. I mean, like Jim said earlier, he hadn't seen it happen like this. I think it's a lot due to there's a big group of people that are trying to make this happen, and there's a big group of people making it happen. And it's really amazing year, and an amazing, actually probably 5 to 8 years this has really been happening. So Anthony, hey, happy holidays to you too, buddy. So Cody says in-house, let's see here. He says in-house metal shop makes cap warranties easier as well. Yeah, that's a great point. Kyle says HVAC world is totally different where everyone craps on each other. Yeah, I've got an HVAC division and we're just really getting off the ground, but you're right. Let's see. Nicholas says, I hired guys that I had known for years and all had experience and were certified. I believe they thought they would get away with anything if they worked for me. Not the case. Coach Chad was paramount in solving the situations. I wish I would have known about him sooner. Well, don't we all wish we would have known about Chad sooner? I told Chad, I'm like, man, where have you been, man? Why are you hiding? And and we're so glad he kind of came to the forefront. He developed a lot of stuff on his own, and he's been very helpful to a lot of companies. And he got into coaching and has helped a lot of people. And he's got the heart, the heart of a teacher to help, to listen, and to give you ideas to get better. And sometimes the coach also has to, lay the hammer down and yell at you, because sometimes that's what coaches do. They have to call you on your own crap. And as business leaders, we need that. Sometimes we don't have anybody that calls us on our crap. And sometimes you need somebody that pushes back and, pushes you to be better. And so Chad was very thankful for Nick. But yeah, Chad, we're so glad you came up and decided, you came out helping is what you did. I think that was a key, Chad, is that you came out with ideas to help anybody you could as fast as you could. And I think that was, that's how we need to be. And a lot of guys are like that, and sharing what they do. I'll tell you one other thing. Kyle says, Chad Murray is a great coach. So glad I met him. So that was from Kyle German. So another thing, and I'm about out of time, but another thing that I've noticed a lot was anxiety and depression in people. And I had never seen that quite so much as it was this year. And I don't have any answers other than I think a couple things. I think social media and some of the things on the news can lead you to believe that things are worse or your life is worse than it is. And I think if you watch too much news, you think that everything is going straight to hell in a handbasket. But if you step back from it, and if you really think about your life, if you didn't watch the news and you had no social media, what is your life really like? And what is it, not comparing it to anybody else's, but just how is your life? How is it compared to the last 5 years? I can tell you, man, most people I know are a lot better off than they were 5, 10 years ago. A lot better. And we can sit there and worry about who's the president and what they're doing and this bill and that bill and how much money is being spent. And all I can do is my part, which is work hard, try to employ people, try to provide a good service for my community, vote when I need to vote, and then just keep my head down and work and not get too tied up in it. But I see a lot of people, a lot of anxiety. I've never seen quite so much anxiety. And I mean, there are some amazing drugs for it, but I don't know what's causing that, but I have a feeling it's something tied to our technology and what we're watching and doing is making us anxious about, because there's I watch some of my guys at work, they never have any rest time. And even it happens to me a lot too. I'm on my damn phone all the time. And so there's no time when you're on and off. It's more just like you're on all the time. It's some of the guys with, the wives and girlfriends at home are like, they text them 100 times a day and they're constantly on back and forth. And it doesn't, I think that adds to a stress level that we are starting to pay for a bit. So I'm not trying to end it on a negative note. It was just some of the things that I have. But so to end for me, the biggest wins are clearly how fortunate we are to live in a time. Yeah, there's terrible, the pandemic. There's terrible with all kinds of stuff. But man, to me, the good totally outweighs the bad. And we are still fortunate to be in such a land of milk and honey that we have the ability, and people are paying for our services and they want it. And there's people just having the best years of their life amongst some of the worst times that we've known. And I think we all should be grateful for that. I think we all need to be thankful for everything we do have, but understand, keep a foot in reality where things can very much change with your life, your health, people around you. That all can change in a heartbeat. And to me, being grateful for, I love reading all these posts of people that are having amazing years, and I'm grateful that they're sharing that with me, and they are grateful that it's happening, and several of them are grateful for things that they've learned, through all the people that are trying to help. So the key is, and I say this a lot for you younger guys that are listening, you're next up, right? You're the next ones up. Jim and me and Russ and a lot of us have been around a long time, and we got the ball rolling to a certain point, and you're next. So the requirement of you guys is to, and several guys on here tonight are sharing and they're very involved. Please keep doing that. That's what our industry needs, is a sharing of knowledge and a willingness to help the next guy up. Chad says, my biggest win is being part of the industry now. Knowing there are chimney people out there has been a major shift in my life and my company as well. Yeah. Thank you, Chad. I mean, Chad came in and immediately got involved with the people that are, in this part of the industry, and he employed them, he supported them, he became part of the industry as fast as he could. And I think that's what we need. And I see several of you guys coming out there. We've never seen, you guys before, and all of a sudden you're in the forefront. And I think that's good. I see people, coming out with podcasts. And there was a gentleman, I don't remember I think his last name is Kramer, but he was starting a podcast. Good. I mean, good. Do it all. Start videos, do podcasts, share the information. We're still a micro industry compared to anybody else. And so, the HVAC and the plumbing and contractors and roofing, we're nothing. So the more we can get out there, the more we can be known as, that you need a chimney expert. You need these guys to be on your team. The better it is for all of us. Guys, I won't be coming to you next week. I'm going to have family in, so this will probably be the last SureFire Live of the year. And it's been a great year. This was a new thing, new idea we had, and I love the participation, and I love the sharing. And I'm always open for new topics. If you guys have either a guest want to be on the show, or you have a topic you'd like to see us cover, man, that's always helpful. Because sometimes I run out of topics. I come up with a topic for the podcast, and sometimes a topic for this, and I'm like, what else I got to talk about? So thank you guys so much. Happy Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We'll come to you right after the first of the year, and stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.